Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Rachel Spence, and I'm the Public Programs Manager here at MoHi. And we're going to be learning about buffalo harvesting and cultural wellness. As an important welcome to the space, I want to make sure everyone knows where the bathrooms are. So if you go out that door, down the hallway, all the way to the other side of the museum, they will be on the left. And if you have any other needs, find one of the staff members, and we are happy to help you feel at home here. So today we're going to be learning about Native cultural practices around harvesting and cultural wellness. And as we think about these ongoing traditions, it's important to acknowledge that here at MoHi, we are on the historic and contemporary lands and waters of the Duwamish, Suquamish, Muckleshoot, and all Coast Salish people. Historically, Native communities were forcefully removed from the city, but today we honor their continued endurance with deep respect and gratitude for their unbroken stewardship of this place. And this program is special because it's not just MoHi putting it on together. We have partnered with the Living Breath of Wethabolt Indigenous Food Symposium, which is housed at the UW. And I'm going to introduce Tia Yazzie, who will be giving more information about the symposium and then introducing our speaker, who you've already heard a little bit from today.
Hi, everyone. I think I'll just use my voice. Is that okay?
Please use the mic.
Oh, use the mic? Okay. Sure, no problem. Sorry, I'm going to stand behind here, too. So yat everyone, she'e tia yazi yaneshia, honogachni neshle, torachitni bashichin, honogachni dashiche, maidishkichi dashanele. So hi everyone, my name's Tia Yazzie. I just introduced myself in my Navajo language. So I'm Danae or Navajo from the Navajo Reservation in Arizona, but currently live here in Duwamish territory, also known as Seattle. I also work for the Living Breath of Wethabolt, so I am their coordinator for the symposium that's held each year. And so today I have the honor to introduce Glen Pinkham here. Glen Pinkham is an enrolled member of the Confederated Tribes and Bands of Yakama Nation. He has been married to Yvette Pinkham going on 36 years, and they have 3 children, Cameron, Shanoa, and Dallas. Glen was raised in the Washette, 7 Drums, McKinley Indian Mission, Shaker Faith, Medicine Dance, and Sweat House teachings. And as an adult, baptized in the Church of Latter-day Saints. His parents are Joe, Jay, and Tallulah Pinkham, and he has 6 siblings. Glen is also a traditional hunter who has provided and gifted traditional resources, foods, and knowledge to his community, family, and to those willing to learn, which brings him here today to share his experiences facilitating traditional buffalo harvesting on ancestral lands. So I first met Glen through the Living Breath of Wethabolt a couple of years ago, and it was so awesome to meet him and for him to be a speaker at our event each year. And so although I've only known Glen for a couple of years, I understand from everybody I talk to and through all of the people I work with that Glen has played a vital role in the development and success of the Living Breath of Wethabolt. So over the years, not only as a speaker and a presenter of our symposium, he has also donated food and resources to share with our attendees and guests during our symposium. And it is very good food and resources that he has shared with us. And so for those new to the Living Breath of Wethabolt, we have 10-year reports back there if you would like to take any today, which gives an in-depth information of what we have done over the past 10 years. And then we also have a yearly symposium that is held at the UW Seattle campus, and that's held on usually in May, like the first weekend of May. So you are all welcome to attend and to join us in celebrating not only Indigenous food sovereignty, but other cultural and health and wellness events there. And we have a plethora of speakers who usually come. And we have invited over 65 nations and territories and communities over the past 12 years. And that's including Glen as well. But yeah, so today at the Living Breath of Wethabolt, we're honored to have partnered with the Museum of History and Industry and to invite Glen to share his knowledge with us today. So if you can please help me in welcoming Glen Pinkham today.
My family, my relatives, my people, I'm so grateful that you're here today. I ask that the Creator will live strong in your heart, that when you walk, your words will always be true. I ask that the your those things that live inside your spirit, inside your soul, those things that you've made into who you are, will be passed on to your family, your relatives, the best way you can. And that by being here together, you give me a lot of hope about knowing that these kind of cycles still exist, that there's so much strength out there, so much strength in the spirit of people. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this short film, and I want to put a plug in for my son. He's the one that did the filming. His name is Glen Pinkham, and he's made a lot of short films. And this happened last February of this year. Okay, go ahead and start. Thank you. My family, my relatives, my people. It's a beautiful day to go out and gather, harvest these four-legged ones. We're on the Yakama Reservation. This is year 2023. Ignash Winiksha Katams. Ignash Winiksha Chiapelman. Glen Pinkham. I'm a member of the Yakama Nation. I'm very honored to be with these fine gentlemen to come harvest some buffalo for the people. Night.
Derek Bellegarde, Executive Director of Chief Seattle Club. I'm an enrolled member of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. I'm also Chippewa Cree, Rocky Boy, Montana. It's an honor to be here today. What is the date? February 23rd, 2023. It's an honor to be here. With me, I brought my family. I brought a lot of Chief Seattle Club staff. It's an honor to be here to just be able to do this today and be able to bring back some traditional meat for our members back there who we serve in Seattle. We serve a lot of homeless people. We serve 1,600 people a year, homeless natives, and it's just an honor to be able to bring back this traditional meat.
Good morning. My name is Carlos Westergaard, Yakama Nation. We're in Yakama Nation. I'm Yaqui from northern Mexico, southern Arizona. And today I was invited on my first buffalo harvesting. So I'm really excited. It's really cold out and we're making the best of it. Got a warm heart, warm spirit. I don't really know what to expect. I've never hunted anything but deer and elk. And I'm excited to get a buffalo today. Thank you.
My name's Charles Fiddler. I'm a member of Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians based in Belcourt, North Dakota. And we're out here today to go harvest some buffalo. Today we're gonna go out here and we're gonna visit these relatives out here, these Moshkade Bijiki, and I'm gonna sing a song to honor them and to thank them for giving their lives to feed the people and to feed our spirits. And so, today I'm very happy that all the people were able to come together today to share this experience with one another and to share this experience with, our future generations. And, we've done this before. About a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, we went to Yellowstone and we harvested some buffalo over there. And it was a really good experience. And, and it felt really good to go do that subsistence hunting and to, get a little closer to the land and get a little closer to those relatives of ours, those Moshkade Bijiki, is what we call them in Ojibwe. Today's going to be a really good day. Today's going to be, a lot of, healing and learning and giving thanks, And so, I'm just happy to know that everybody's going to be here and get something good out of it, And so, we'll thank these relatives and, we'll feed our bodies and our spirits with it.
It's an honor and privilege to actually be here and and have the Yakama Nation accept us here on their land and be able to do this. We're thrilled and look forward to doing this, and look forward to doing this with our staff, and knowing we're doing this in a good way for the people. So.
And I'll read this to you, but you guys are welcome to read along with this PowerPoint. Good afternoon, my family, my relatives, my people. I ask that the Creator will live strong in your heart, that when you walk, that your words will always be true. Got the clicker. And here's an acknowledgement to you. When you watch a movie and at the end of the movie, the credit states that no animals were harmed during the filming of this movie. Well, in this video, 4 yearling buffalo were brought to the dinner table. Physical wellness and honor words. It's an honor to be here with family and staff. These are examples of honor words, joy and privilege. You know, when people share words for other people during certain times of your life, it's really easy because, you know, that's a baby. It's a baby, and you give these, you honor your baby. Sometimes before the baby's born, you have the name already picked out. And that baby's name is, maybe it's a granddaughter's name, or a grandma's name. And then in Yakama way, what we do to when it comes to a name is that you can be named after your a relative, or you're named after what you do in your life. Like my son's name is Pleshwatash, and that means white cloud. And when we used to go pick huckleberries when he was a little boy, just you're up in the mountains, the mist comes in and out, and you could see it. It goes away and it comes back. Well, my son was picking huckleberries, and he was out there playing. He'd come in, and he'd hide, and he'd go back, just like the white cloud. And so that's how he got his name, White Cloud. And so your actions can help determine your name in the Yakama way. Physical wellness and honor words to bring traditional meat for the members. For example, honor words like giving and caring. You know, if you put like an English word, an ing ending to a lot of words, it's actually a way of building up somebody and also building up yourself when you share those ing words for other people and for yourself. Because, you know, you guys may have heard this in the movies, you know, life is like an echo, it'll come back to you. You can hear right now, but hearing your words, hearing your thoughts and your feelings, like I was sharing earlier about the buffalo, when they're walking, when they're eating, when they're drinking and they're growing, those are all ing words, like what we do. We walk, we eat, we drink, we're drinking, and that medicine from out of the ground, out of the water, out of the plants, everything that we eat goes into our bodies and helps us to grow in a way so that we can help somebody else down the road and help them to walk, to help them to laugh, to help them to know that they are important and special. Mental wellness, to be accepted on the Yakama Nation land. Thrilled to do this in a good way for the people. Example of honor words, sense of belonging, and being respectful. Well, you know what? Being respectful is like when someone come in our old way, when you come into a traditional home in Yakama, first thing that they'll ask you is, would you like something to eat? Are you cold? Are you thirsty if it's a hot day? And, you know, if you ever see a buffalo from a distance, or an elk or a deer, when you see them out there, you know, just by seeing them, you know, it'll touch you in a different way. You don't have to necessarily, bring them home. You don't have to shoot them. I share with my friends who hunt with me that uh, being accepted is also like you see 100 elk, and I'm not going to shoot the biggest one. I'm going to shoot more or less the younger ones because their meat is more tender for elders and for children. But see, you need the elderly, like how we need the elderly. You be respectful, and you need those bigger game to teach the younger elk in that herd what to do. And all animals do that. They all learn how to help each other through their. You see that with wild dogs of Africa. I just saw one big um, uh, documentary about them. But lions do that. Birds do that. They live together for life, and when eagles, like when I had this eagle fan over here, when you go to places, like what I'm saying about being when you're accepted, you go to places, and especially the opposite, when you're not accepted somewhere, that strength that you got from your food, from your water, from people who love you and care about you, who say those good words, it helps you, especially when you're alone, especially when you need someone to help you out. And sometimes we have to get up by ourselves. It's always good to be able to get up by yourself, but it's also very good to help somebody else to get up. And because someone could walk in the door, and if a person is on crutches, we could say, yeah, we could see that person. Let's open the door for that person. You can see that part. But when it comes to the spiritual part and the mental part, you still need to go up and shake their hand and say hello. Let them know that they're accepted, that they belong here. Because a lot of people are suffering alone. And that few little words, that smile, that firm handshake, it's medicine, and it goes into their mind, their body, their spirit, and helps them live strong for another day. Mental wellness and honor words. Subsistence hunting gets him closer to the land. Subsistence hunting may get you closer to the land, but like I mentioned, there are other things that can get you closer to the land. There are things like the basics, like praying, and also like drinking more regular water instead of sugar, man-made sugar. And I'm not putting those down. I'm just saying for a certain period of your life, you might want to, especially to get my age, you might want to stop taking less man-made sugar. There's a lot of healing and learning and giving thanks, the ING words that you could give to other people. And those, like this buffalo, just when you guys have a moment, you can go over and touch it, and you'll feel that medicine in its robe. And I have other traditional medicines that we put in the sweat, and when you smell it, it gives you different kind of strength. Just like I'll give you an example here of something totally the opposite. You're driving down the street and you're hungry and you see McDonald's over there. And I'm not putting down McDonald's, but you'll see McDonald's. Oh, I'm hungry. I like to eat there. Well, we've been kind of conditioned to eat there. Well, other places you might have to discover for yourself in your life. I don't know how to cook very good, and my family's coming over, but I'll try to learn how to cook. Instead of just buying the food, cooking for people is the ING word, is an amazing thing that you can do for somebody, and working with them, and smiling with them, and making those mistakes together. Those things go a long ways, because those ING words, happy to get something out of it. Well, you know what happens? You You're defining who you are. You are defining who you are when you cook for somebody. You're defining somebody, yourself when you're saying you're willing to help somebody just by being just by the simplest thing, by taking them to the store. Do you guys remember a couple of years ago, elders could only go to the store like before 9 o'clock in the morning? That was kind of scary, at certain stores. And I was very blessed that my kids lived at our home and they were able to go get us groceries and see buffalo and elk and deer, all our four-legged ones, all that we call them old people who live in the ground, all the old people who live in the water, all the old people who live in the air. They don't have a choice. And we've unfortunately had to suffer along with them when they had the fires up north. So I'd really encourage you to have good thoughts when you see smoke. It might hurt us, but we can say, hey, Creator, help those old people up in those trees up there. Give them some water. And pray for those people who are trying to put the fire out. See, when you live past yourself, outside yourself, you're defining yourself. It will help you to help others, just with your words, just with your thoughts, especially with your feelings, because we can all touch each other with our spirit. Relatives that feed our bodies and spirit, they don't necessarily have to feed us physically, but one thing that helps is when we do that, what happens is we can use those memories to feed us later. I'm pretty sure some of you have had younger brothers and sisters. I have a younger sister who we're having her memorial this coming Saturday. And during this time of mourning, it's been a year, I don't, best way for me to feed my body and my spirit is we don't say her name out loud. We don't look at pictures of her, because what it does, it just like when you see a beautiful picture that you like say an eagle up in the air, or like this four-legged one, you see that picture and it feels good. Well, good things can also hurt you, and they call it depression. So you have to do your best to sometimes feeding your body is also one way of, I'll give you an example here, what I'm talking about here. My dad, when we go home to Yakama, we would always go see a movie together. And when he died, what we did for a whole year before we had his memorial, we would go to movies with my mom, but at a totally different movie theater. We didn't go to the same movie theater, because you'll see your memories there that I had with him. And if you can, it does help to abstain from places that you've had with relatives who are very close to you, who stand with the Creator in our teachings. And that's what comes with stewardship to the mind and to your body, spirit, and Mother Earth. When you have a stewardship, you are helping other people. I'll share this funny story with you guys. It's an ant story. This ant, an ant only lives 2 weeks. And he really believed, he told everybody, there's something that I can't explain that's right over there, and everybody thought he was crazy. So he for 2 days, he marched across the grass, and he came, this anthill was like 2 days travel for him, right next to a freeway. And it was a hot day, and he couldn't touch it. It would burn him. And then he didn't know what to think of it. And then all of a sudden, the sun disappeared for a second. And this huge thing that he couldn't describe drove by, which was a semi-truck. And so he walked back for a couple more days. So during his 2-day trip there, 2-day trip back, he spent about a third of his life traveling, trying to determine the truthfulness out there. And he came back, he told everybody what he saw, what he didn't see. And the reason I share this with you, and there are things that are bigger than us. And I'll share something really funny with you. My this gentleman, my kids gave me this shirt. It says "Best Dad in the Galaxy." And this guy was being smart with me. He goes, "Hey, what about the universe? Are you the best dad in the universe?" And I just looked at him. "Oh, that's for the other guy. You know, that's for God." So he got all red because he wasn't expecting me to bring God into it. But I just want to let you know that there are things that are bigger than us that live in each one of us, and the things that we get to see every day, they help us see those things. Like what the teaching was saying, you can see things, see the big things with your eyes, see the big things with your heart, and see the biggest things with the Creator in your heart. So the way we share this spiritual wellness is to sing a song to honor them, give their lives to feed our spirit, share with future generations. And examples of these are traditional singing and hunting for the unborn. And you can put in the word hunting, you could put things like growing plants. Those of you who like to grow plants, grow vegetables, that's one thing you can do. One thing that you can do that I learned from a friend of mine. He's he told me, he says, "Glenn, every day when you wake up, drink some water and tell the Creator, thank you for the water. Just drink 2 cups of water." And then about that was like 50-some years ago. And then about 10 years ago, I learned this fact that there's a group of people in the world that live over the age of 100 years old, and they're a small group of people. There's just over 120-some thousand of them, and they do one thing every day, and they start their day with a ceremony of drinking water. And those people are in Japan, Okinawa. They do that. And you can have, when I say traditional singer, you could be, I'll demonstrate that here in a moment, but it doesn't have to be, see, I know a lot of people who are from different tribes that come to Sweat, and they sing different songs they're from the Southwest, they're from the Midwest, they're from Alaska, and then I have people who sing hymns, Christian hymns. I've had people do chants with Baha'i. I've heard all kinds of amazing medicine. And, with respect to the buffalo, with harvest, those guys, the funniest thing I saw about a buffalo is we were driving through Yellowstone, and my daughter called them old men wearing hats. Because, they're this way up high, and, they look like old men. So that still sticks in my mind, And they have this strength by being who they are right in front of you. And each of you have strength to somebody that you love and care about by being who you are. And it does, like I said, it doesn't have to be singing. It could be some kind of tradition that you have, whether it's drinking water, whether it's cooking. When I mentioned for the unborn, and I'll put this on a spin for that people know for the unborn. There's a person who, our ancestors, 10 generations ago, said, "I want my kids to have a better way of life than what we had." Then that prayer kept being pushed back 9 generations, 8 generations, 7. And then my grandma, when she was 103 years old, she said the same thing. She says, "I want my goal in my life to be happy is that you'll have a better way of life." And that's a mom, a grandma, and ancestors' wish for those who are unborn. And we all do that for people. We all do that in a good way. Sometimes it's just trying to get a good grade at the end of the quarter, going to school. I promise I'll study 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day, and so that I can have that grade. While the buffalo, the elk, and the deer and the salmon, they just do it because that's what they are. They they go through a cycle, a season of their life, and we benefit from that season. And this buffalo robe was gathered when he was 2 years old, just under 3, and the uh, the strength that came from that um, is you notice all the people that were taking the hide off, they touched it with their hands, and most of those people had never even taken the hide off an elk or a deer, and it's the first time they ever went and took a hide off a buffalo. So when I see them today, they're still excited about going out again this winter, and I'm grateful for that idea that we're going to go hunt again, well, harvest again, and you can do the same thing. You already done the same thing with children in your life, your grandchildren in your life, and your great grandchildren. Some of you, just like your parents did, your grandparents did, and your great grandparents did for you. They gave you a wish, a a dream that you could live. You know, when you have, as I mentioned, you have that first harvest of a buffalo, you can compare that to your first child. Your first baby comes, you make a lot of mistakes. And then, you're excited, you're happy. And you know what happens? By the time you get the second kid, well, you're supposed to get buy the diapers ahead of time. You know how to, the husband knows this, this is what I learned, that if you change the diapers during the graveyard shift, mom's happy, So you learn how to do those things. And despite the cold weather, he felt a warm heart and a warm spirit. And when you raise children, when you raise your grandkids, when you help a stranger, it that that medicine comes back to you. Just like when that buffalo was eating grass 3 years ago and 2 years ago, and right before we took him, that medicine went into his body, and then when we ate that medicine, it made us feel good. When we had a buffalo burger for stew, it came into us, and it touched our spirit. Just like when you saw McDonald's and you touched your spirit, um, when you build up other people, you're not just helping them with their self-worth and self-esteem, but after a while, you know what happens? You build yourself up. And when you get, the best way to do that is simply tell everybody thank you in your life. We had a couple songs, 3 songs just for that before we brought him home, and then we had 3 more songs for the other 5 buffalo that we brought, and those songs for that time, and they still grow, and they help me remember in a positive way. So I'd like to share one of these songs with you, and what it means basically is from time immemorial, there's these old people, and they said, one of them was tobacco, and tobacco stepped up, and he said, I'm going to put my body down and take care of these 2-legged ones that are coming. That's what's in here, tobacco. I have some other medicines in here. Old people that live in the ground. They're sage from different parts of the country and Canada. Each of these sage stepped forward and said, I'll give my body, and when I give my body for these two-legged, they're going to know that they have strength already, and I'm going to make their strength stronger. Whatever it is, maybe they're good with, they're an artist, or maybe they're good, they're a good runner, whatever that strength is. And then there was sweetgrass, and sweetgrass and lavender are medicines specifically for women, because women give us, complement and enhance the strength of a man, his spirit. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for women. But their love is different, their thoughts are different, their feelings are different, and they help us see things from a different point of view. I'll give you a quick example. If you could stand up for a second. All right, this is God. And I'm standing in front of God. And I say, hey, God, he has two eyes and 2 ears, 2 arms, 2 legs. And then go turn sideways. But the people alongside of God on the sideways say, wait a minute, he's only got 1 arm, 1 leg, and 1 eye. Okay, now turn around again. The people behind God said, no, he's got 2 arms and 2 legs, and he's got no face. So, okay, you can sit down now. Thank you, God. And so what happens is that your point of view about the Creator, your point of view about being a dad, your point of view about laughing, the point of view about sharing, giving, believing in other people, that changes different points of view of your life. It'll change. Like, when my son was born, but before my son was born, I saw my sister's kids and my brother's kids, and I said, oh, those are babies, I'm not going to pick that baby up, but I'll watch, And then a few years later, my wife and I had a baby, our first son, and it was the most amazing thing. I picked him up, and my point of view about babies, all of a sudden I understood what it meant when a baby cries, that when their tears come out, when their teeth come out, all kinds of things. I learned that point of view. So my point of view about babies changed. And my point of view about maybe someday having grandkids will change. I haven't had any of those yet, but I'm still waiting. I got 3 kids, but I'm in no hurry. But the same thing about any kind of relationship you have. And when you go hunting or you do harvesting, I'll share something with you that's kind of related to this. My friend and I were hunting for a funeral. It was like a couple hours before dark, and we got a couple elk, and we were about 100 yards up this hill. And I was cleaning the elk, and my friend would pack the game down one leg at a time. And right around, I was done with the first, it started getting dark. And my friend says, hey, I got a flashlight. And his flashlight wasn't working too good. And he had to hit it together. It goes tick, tick, and the light would come back on. And so I would hear him before I seen him coming up the hill, because he'd hit his flashlight so he could see where he's walking. And then when he got up here, after he did that, I started hearing like a, oh, And then I thought, oh, he's just trying to scare me, And so he carried the elk back and forth, and he kept doing that. It started getting louder. I says, okay, enough's enough. I know that you're trying to scare me. And he goes, Glenn, I thought you were trying to scare me. I says, oh, you didn't make that sound? I go, no, I didn't make that sound. And I says, well, we better have him get out of here, So we carried the last bit of the elk down, went to the truck, and just we threw the last hindquarters on the truck. Something came out of the across the road from us, out of the bushes, and this this man come out. He was limping like this, and he's crying. He says, "Don't leave me!" And he was having a hard time talking. "Don't leave me! Don't leave me!" And he said, he goes, "Hey, I was way up there." He was pointing on the other side of the canyon, and I got lost a couple days ago. and I was about to give up, and then it was getting dark, and then I saw that light flash off and on, and you gave me hope, and I tried yelling to you, but you couldn't hear me. So I went down another 20, 30 yards, and I tried yelling again, and you still couldn't hear me. Then I got down a little farther, and I yelled, and then all of a sudden your flashlight stopped. And your light stopped, and when I saw that light stop, I knew that you heard me, and you gave me hope. And so I started yelling at you more and more, and I hurried down some more. I said, don't leave me, don't leave me. And then I made it here. So just by being yourself, we were just hunting for a funeral. This gentleman was able to find his way back through the light. And so in your life, sometimes you're going to be a light to somebody. Just by being who you are, for any kind of the most simplest reason, you'll be a light to somebody. Just like these buffalo are a light to us with when we do blessings, when we do they give us their medicine, their bodies for food. So that's the part about helping somebody with their self-worth and self-esteem. We can't see it, but we can see a person with a broken leg on crutches, but a self-worth, self-esteem, that you're touching someone's light. Oh, I wanted to acknowledge this person. She's the one that gave me this phrase, honor words. I want to give thanks to my wife for 38 years for the phrase honor words. Her name's Yvette. Hey, Isinyok. And so I just wanted to share that. She's Southern Cheyenne. And here's a couple of teachings for you. Always have good thoughts, good feelings, good words, good actions, because what you think, feel, say, and do goes into your food, but also goes into the people around you. It defines who you are. People see you from a distance and say, hey, look at that guy. Look what he did, look what she did. And I always say at the end of my emails, I always say this: may your blessings always be bigger than your problems. So anybody have any questions? Because I can answer I can give you the answer to almost anything, but it may not be right though.
And we have a microphone for audience questions, so if you raise your hand, I'll come around, and that's because we're recording today, so this can go on our YouTube channel.
You also have a feather over there.
Yes.
Could you talk about the feather?
Okay. I got this from my dad when he passed away. I use this for blessings, and I brush people off with during a song. I also use that bell, and I also use sage to brush people off at the same time. I also brush off buildings. I brushed off 10-story buildings, big buildings just as big as this right here. And I go into people's homes when people are having nightmares, and I chase things out of their house. It's not like it's how in the movies, like Ghostbusters. It's just they just leave, and but that's what this is for. And these feathers are what I want to tell you about this, about eagle feathers and feathers from the ones who live in the old people who live in the air, is that they go in places that we've never been at, and they touch the Creator's breath. And I'll say it to you like this: air is the Creator's breath. Water, I'll put this in Christian values for you. Water is like Jesus Christ, and food is like the Holy Ghost. But like food, though, like the Holy Ghost, you can't have too much food, because otherwise it turns into comfort food. That's a joke, comfort food. But anyway, most people understand that one, but maybe I said it too fast. But this feather, I've been to, I do maybe um, anywhere from 5 homes a week to maybe 2 homes a week, because people are, I help them with trauma. People are under, they lost their loved one, and or I meet them just recently I can meet them in the parking lots at the hospitals. I used to go in the hospitals with this and help the families that are going to be left behind because someone's about to pass. I do a lot of end of life visits with this. And to answer your question, how we do on time, by the way.
We have time for a couple more questions.
Okay. I was going to say too, if you guys like, if I could demonstrate to you what it means to be brushed off, I could do that for you. Would you guys like that? To see that? Okay. That's okay with you guys? All right.
Yeah.
This blanket was given to me by my in-laws from Oklahoma, and he's a medicine man from their people, and it's a warrior's blanket. And so that's what he calls it. So I'll need a person who wants to be brushed off, and I'll need 2 people to help me bring the rug up and the buffalo robe and put it on him. You like to? Okay. Okay, come on up. And whoever stands on the robe, please take your shoes off. So I'll need another person to help me. Come on up, Eric. And I could use one more person. Go ahead and stand on that to help him carry that over. This is the, you can see the tail here. I'll put him right over the top, right over here. Yeah, one, yeah. Yeah, we have tails on this end, yeah.